Hello, I'm in Charlotte Street in sort of West End area of London, just not far from Tottenham Court Road. And the reason for doing this video is because it's a comparison with a piece of footage shot in the 1960s. So the footage starts off about here, and the camera is in a car which will go around, basically around the block. It'll come around down Charlotte Street onto Goodge Street and then Tottenham Court Road and then onto Howland Street, which isn't that far away. And the reason for doing this is just to sort of do a comparison, because I know this area because I sort of come here at lunchtime from work. I noticed this bit of footage, didn't say exactly where it was, and I thought I know where that is, so I wanted to have a look and see the changes, and there's quite a lot. So when the car moves off, one of the first things you'll see straight afterwards is on the corner of what is Tottenham Street, and this site here used to be the Scala Theatre or Scala Cinema, and that is notable. It was the top building was pulled down in 1969 or thereabouts. There had been a theatre on this site from the late 1700s, 1770, something like that, and it became many different things. It's worth reading the history of the Scala Theatre on Wikipedia, because then you'll get to see what it's all about. But so there you go, see, it says Scala Street, so that gives you notification of the existence of the Scala, even though it is gone. And I think this is actually called Scala House. So this was put up not that long ago, and it probably replaced something else that hadn't been around for too long. Notable things that happened at the Scala Theatre was the Beatles, for their Hard Day's Night film, the bit of a performance was filmed in the theatre. It was knocked down, as I said, the top building was knocked down in 69, the theatre went, and they put a cinema underground apparently in the Scala. Most people will probably know it because it went over to Pentonville Road, I think in the 70s. Now, the site was then occupied in 1980 by Channel 4, and it was their first headquarters. So even though Channel 4 started in 82, the company had existed since a bit earlier, and this is where their offices were. So that would have been the building that existed on this site before this one. Rather complex. Anyway, so I'm going to try and do this in the way that the car would have done, which means I've got to walk backwards. I didn't think about this, so maybe I can do it this way round. But basically, the car comes down this street, and this building here would be in bare brick. It's been painted now, but what's notable is the type of businesses that were down here. And like I said, I think the footage was done probably in the mid to late 60s, and a lot of this area was devoted to filmmaking, advertising, media stuff, advertising. There's still some of that stuff around, but also things like the cloth industry, clothes design, textiles, that sort of thing. So we'll get to, the camera car will come round and it will pick up this building, and we're going on to Goodge Street. So the best way for me to shoot this, I think, really, try not to get run over. I thought I'd do this in the morning because it's less busy. No way I could do this at lunchtime, because down here at lunchtime is full of people getting their lunch and this, that and the other. So, like I said, it would come down here. Now, individually, I can't pick off all the different businesses that were, but I guarantee you that literally every single one of them would have gone. There is a barber's there, which is called Nicholas. That has been there since 67, apparently. So there may have been a barber there before. There may have been some of these restaurants, but to be honest with you, it's all restaurants down here now. But we're getting along to something which gets to the pub on the corner, which is called the Fitzrovia. Now, I don't know whether it was called the Fitzrovia back in the mid-60s when the footage was done. It's typical, isn't it? My luck, there's loads of vehicles all parked up on the side of the road, so you can't see the frontages. So the best laid plans with doing this I mean, I've been down this street in the morning at this time of day and it's been absolutely dead quiet. But we got a delivery taking place of beer into that pub. So like I said, that pub appears in the footage. God. So if I was doing it properly, I would be in a car or a bicycle, and it'll be great. This building here comes into play. So if you have a look, it says that that's been there since 1966. It's a Tesco's. And the reason why it says since 66 is because that's when Tesco basically took over the existing building business that had been there before, which was called Victor Value. I've mentioned that in a previous video, and again, just as luck would have it, the entire frontage is now obscured by a big Tesco's delivery truck. So that sort of killed that one. In fact, actually, things are quite heavily stacked against me in terms of being shown then and now with the next building. But there we go, you can just make it out. So that in the film says Victor Value in big red letters. The next building we come to is this one on the corner, which is now I can never pronounce it, Chipotle Mexican grill. That had been something else until a couple of years ago. As you can see, the building's obviously getting cleaned up, but this building in the film was in fact a Golden Egg restaurant. So I doubt many people remember Golden Eggs unless you're a bit older. I certainly remember one in Stratford in East London, but I think that would just it was just surviving on its name. I don't think it was related to the old business. So the camera car swings around, probably better in some ways that I shoot from the other side of the road, he says, trying to get run over, because you do get a better view. So yes, the camera car comes around there. Now, at this point you're probably thinking, well, this is great, Mark, but where's the footage? Well, I'm going to put it, as I've mentioned, in the description. It will be in the description. I'll put the link in. Now, the footage comes packaged up by a company called Kino Library. Kino keep an awful lot of this footage, which I think was originally done by a company called World Films. And what they did was they shot stuff in the back of a car or whatever, so that it could be used for film and television for sort of sequences. So often you see in these old TV series like the Saints and the Avengers and stuff like that, you'd see a street sequence in a car. And basically the car is in a studio and then they've done a back projection. And so you use footage like this, or like you'll see in the link for that. So, that's thinking. Let's move a little bit quicker. It's taking a lot longer than I thought. So yes, you'd see all this. These buildings would still be there in the 1960s, including Goodge Street Station. And we'll come up to, this is for me where you see some real differences. Apart from the Scala Theatre gone, this Starbucks wouldn't have been a Starbucks, because Starbucks didn't even exist until 1971 in America. So one thing you wouldn't see in the film is this, which is heels, because the camera is fixed onto this side of the road that I'm filming on. So this is where you see some real difference, because in the film that Costa Coffee is a chemist, and yes, it is standing in perfect isolation, because I assume this bit of land had probably been bombed in the war, Second World War. That mural has been there since I think the late 70s, early 80s, but in the film it's just a blank plastered wall. So these two things are the most noticeable difference in the film in particular. But then we also move along, we'll see, I think what's called it's now called the American International Church, but it was called the Whitfield Congregational Church back then. In fact, actually, I think I can see at the top of the building, it might actually say above the door, Whitfield Memorial Church. These trees have grown since that film was made, although I think it was probably shot in the winter. So we're now moving down Tottenham Court Road, and you see, and again it does appear in the film, this rather strange assemblage and stuff, which is an advertising hoarding. That's not in the film, but in amongst all that stuff, if I just close in that building there is the entrance exit for a deep level shelter from the Second World War. So that obviously now is covered in graffiti by the ever familiar 10-foot who seems to have covered most of London. That is a twin building of the building which is, it's not down this street, it's down another street. It's on University Street, I think it is. But anyway, so yes, I said, you see all of this lot. Let's go back to a wide angle. Can we get across this road? Yes. The next thing that is an obvious difference is these buildings here, because in the footage, these are old Victorian, possibly even Georgian buildings, but they've all gone now. And I think that building that you see there is possibly a refurbishment of another building that went up possibly in the late 60s. Now what we do think, one thing that is the same, remarkably, especially in this day and age, in the film, is there is a Lloyd's Bank, because this building here is a sort of, I would say, probably 1950s building. Good point for me to pop you across the road, I think. Yes, the Lloyd's Bank. There is the Lloyd's Bank in the film. Different frontage, very different frontage, much more subtle as things were then. Now everything's a bit more garish. Wrong time to cross the road, Mark. Just loads and loads of cyclists, but because most of them are electrified cyclists who move a lot quicker than they used to. So this is coming to the junction of Howland Streets. This will make a lot more sense, this, when you see the piece of 1960s footage, because then you'll be able to say, oh yes, I remember Mark tediously pointing out this, that or the other. Now here, where we have this building called Network, which is just being finished off, that's been a building site for the last 2 years or so. That used to be, part of it used to be something to do with, I think, British Telecom, originally post office. So this building here, which is now a bagel shop, in the film I think was either just a business, you know, just some sort of normal sort of business. Certainly wasn't as many food businesses in the area back then. So like I said, this is Howland Street, it's Howland Mews East. You see it come up. The film does also have the Carpenter's Arms. You'll just make it out, and in fact actually, because they've kept the frontage as it was, you'll see all of that. Now the camera car comes past here and then it will stop. God, this is really tricky. Trying to film things backwards, just, it's a real challenge. It'll come round to about here, strangely enough. Now the funny thing is that in the footage, in the footage, where the camera car decides to pull up and stop is basically a building site. It's an absolute nightmare trying to move around in bicycles. Honestly, I don't know why they can't clear the set before I start filming. Anyway, yeah, the camera car comes around. Bloody hell, another van. What a nightmare. No, he wasn't even going to drive past, was he? Right, so yeah, it pulls up about here. Now this building went up and was finished off, I think, last year or the year before. So this is a building site, but actually the strange thing is that a couple of years ago the site looked very much like it does in the film, except it was a different building going up. But it had a very similar feel to it. Anyway, I don't know whether this footage is going to make any sense. It only makes sense if you have a look at the link that I put in the description. So have a look down into the description and you'll see the link. It shows you the Kino footage from the mid-60s. And it will make a whole lot more sense to you. Because I don't know what this film, I mean, I'm filming it now, I don't know what it actually ends up looking like. Probably a right old mess. and lots of really bad camera work because I'm trying to film backwards. So anyway, yeah, that's it. All 15 minutes of it, and it's worth me just pointing out really that a lot of these videos that I do, they're not supposed to be works of art. They're not supposed to be anything even really like what John Rogers does, which his films are, you know, on a different level completely. What these films are for me is just really for record purposes. They're just to show areas. But yeah, I shall leave it there. And if you made it to the end of this, well done, and thank you very much for watching. And do remember to have a look in the description and click on the link which will take you to the YouTube video from Kino Library. And like I said, it will make sense. Thank you.